I'd like to give a little background on the third book, Richard O. Moore's Writing the Silences, edited by Brenda Hillman and Paul Ebenkamp, with a foreword by Brenda Hillman. Beginning in the late 1940s, the San Francisco Renaissance poetry movement, founded by Kenneth Rexroth and Madeline Gleason, put the city on the map as a center of American avant-garde poetry and embraced the work of, among others, Robin Blazer, Jack Spicer, and Robert Duncan. Reflecting our commitment to post-war experimental American poetry, we are publishing the selected poems of one of the last of the San Francisco Renaissance poets, Richard O. Moore. A filmmaker and seminal figure in public radio and television, in the 1960s, Moore made classic documentaries, including the series USA Poetry, which profiled major American poets, and in 2009, one of his films was shown at SF MoMA as part of the Avedon exhibition. For nearly 60 years, Moore, now 90, has been writing poems of exquisite economy that blend the lyric with philosophical meditation and political statement. Culled from 7 full-length manuscripts spanning nearly 60 years, most of the poems in Writing the Silences are being published for the first time. Moore's ties with Rexroth, Spicer, Duncan, and the Beats were important to the development of his thought and poetry, but Moore's style is eclectic, hybrid, if you will. His poetry has continued to reflect the wildly varied free verse styles of the San Francisco Renaissance writers, but his signature poetic style is an open, spare verse that foregrounds philosophical inquiry. Some of Moore's behind-the-scenes work as a filmmaker and TV producer is recorded in the 17 archival photographs that appear in Writing the Silences. Dating from the 1940s through the present, these photos are a gallery of who's who in post-war American poetry. Stanley Kunitz, Randall Jarrell, Allen Ginsberg, Denise Levertov, Robert Creeley, Robert Duncan, Louis Zukofsky, to name a few. And now Richard Moore will read some poems from Writing the Silences.
Therefore, set forth over the black river. Death is not to be turned toward, nor is it a breathing presence at the neck. Death must be made in the language of life. A wide word span, a random dream game, a virtual space in our small talk, as with, to enter, why not like a bird, a great hall. Shadow and light. Incised in concrete, knife-edged shadow, frond, a perfect arrest of clarity, a palm-frond arrow from a declining sun. Shadow and light, lust of epiphany, the illusion that walks with me on concrete. Invisible come along, shadow and light, epiphany of the shadow, tangible as light palm shape, holds me timeless until, without thinking, I pass by. An arrest of clarity, held and released by a declining sun. Step over the shadow, light vanishes a passer-by. Driving to Fort Bragg, and this poem has an epigraph from the philosopher John Searle, which reads, "The existence of the appearance is the reality in question." And just a note about the circumstance of this poem, I was very, very early on a very, very foggy morning on the Mendocino coast. I was driving from Point Arena to Fort Bragg with my wife for an emergency medical appointment, and the fog had closed down everything, and this poem came as a result of that. Inferred only, this time is history, yet uncovered. Hawks on fence posts, even ravens, those acrobats. Fog has called a general strike along the coast. No thermal lazing, hovering, no tidying up by vultures descended from above. Through cataracts dimly, once winged enterprise, feathers tented against rain, these vision masters of the air, headlights catch them in refracting dawn. Whatever their hunger, the ceiling will not yield. Bird shapes lost in the moment of discovery, as if light, after millennia released, reduced substance to ash, a part of the vast curriculum of circumstance and nothing, with yesterday's blinding sunlight there withheld. So many questions, fearful to be asked. Place this with the Pacific fence post posturing of hawks. A Funeral Memory. Immaculately buried memory sets, unworkable as past life, retrievable at will. Thinking of God, I draw a blank. I say, enter thin needle of infinite night, and so it is, the set is over full. Calling on God, I entered the set called silence. Once in the labyrinth, old alley of no exit, there is only the center and the deception of place. Here everything happens and nothing is foretold. Listening for God, I hear my footsteps vanishing. Living in silence, I recall what I cannot hear. And that's all you're going to get.